Hello there, Star Wars toy fans. This is Jim, and thank you again for taking the time to stop by my YouTube channel. The focus of this video today is this behemoth to my left, the 1984 Kenner Imperial Shuttle. This is a really recent acquisition to my collection, and if you follow my channel at all, you know that I put together a video last week showing the reassembly of the ship. So I had taken it apart, done some minor repairs, and some maintenance to the ship, meaning lubricating the moving parts, and then showed the reassembly and just some basic features of it. Now, the ship that I acquired was really quite complete and in very good shape for its age, unlike many that I have seen videos on, as well as things that I've seen on YouTube. So if your ship is not in quite the same shape as mine, in fact it may have broken parts in it, my suggestion is to run over to Toy Poloe's YouTube channel. Dave over there has produced a two-part restoration video in which he totally disassembles the ship, washes it from stem to stern, replaces the broken parts with 3D printed ones, and even reproduced the stickers himself. And I believe you can purchase those on his site, or maybe they're there for free. I'm not really sure, but you can acquire them there. So at any rate, take the time, head over there. It's well worthwhile to see what he did to the work of the ship. So before I look at the details, I'll give you a little bit of background on this ship. This really was not on my radar to collect. The opportunity arose. Now, I would eventually probably would have gotten it, but I had my hopes on the Kenner Sandcrawler. I've been collecting Kenner Star Wars toys since 1978, when I was 9 years old, going on 10. And so by the time this came out in 1984, I was well into high school and not really collecting Star Wars toys at that point. In fact, I had stopped collecting things in 1983 when I was, I think, a sophomore in high school. Christmas of '83, that would have been a sophomore. So when this came out, I would have been a junior, most likely. Now, there were some items from my childhood that my parents purchased for me for Christmases, some expensive items like, say, the Death Star and the Star Destroyer, but there were others that were completely out of their price range. The Sandcrawler being for one, the AT-AT another. In fact, I remember that selling locally for $40, which was a lot of money back then. And then, of course, this, according to the books, retailed for $40, but I'm sure in my area it would have been much more, probably more like $50. So the Sandcrawler is what I had my sights set on, and it was one of 9 pieces left to complete my collection. So I'd been on eBay and other various sites looking for the Sandcrawler, and I'd saved up money to get it, but it is still, the auctions would still go beyond what I had budgeted for. So needless to say, I was looking through the things in my collection that I didn't have, like the Cardboard Cantina or the Cloud City and this, and lo and behold, there was this at a reasonable price, and the seller had a make offer listing. And so I made him an offer, and he accepted, and here it is. Now, what was interesting is the box that it arrived in. I expected it to come in just a completely rectangular square box, but the box was shaped like the ship. So there was a smaller box that encased the fuselage, and then a large box that encased the fuselage, and then a smaller one on top of it that was duct taped completely around. And looking at it, you would have thought it would have been crushed. It was just the silliest thing I had seen. But the seller had really protected it quite well on the inside, reinforced all the areas with cardboard and wrapped it in bubble wrap. So it arrived complete and very safe. The postman dropped it off at my front door, and I saw her come up, and I said, "Oh, wow, this arrived early." And she said, "What is it, a chair?" And I said, "No, it's an Imperial Shuttle, a Star Wars Imperial Shuttle." And she said, "Oh, of course," like that would have been the first thing that would have come to her mind. So my son was there when this came, and he was just thoroughly excited and had to get his picture taken with the toy before I'd even opened it up. So without further ado, let's get into some details of it. And the first thing I want to do is to show just the sheer size of the thing. So to the left we have the Hasbro U-Wing from the Disney Rogue Squadron movie, and then we have the ISP-6 shuttle. That's one of the mini rigs that Kenner produced in, I believe, 1983. And then to the right is the 2004 Hasbro X-Wing, which is the same mold that Kenner produced in 1978. So just to get some measurements here, the length of the U-Wing from engines to the tip of the fin there is 21 inches. The length of the Imperial Shuttle from the rear engine part to the nose is just over 17 inches. So even though this is longer, it's not quite as wide. So the U-Wing width-wise is about 8 inches. The Imperial Shuttle is just over 14 inches long. Now compare that with the X-Wing. The X-Wing is roughly a square. It has a wingspan of 12 inches and then a fuselage size of 13. Now the height is what the biggie is on this thing. So looking at it, you can see it's roughly 21.5 inches tall. That's huge. Probably the tallest ship that Kenner produced. In fact, it's almost as big as the Death Star. And then of course we have the mini-me here, this just completely dwarfs that shuttle. But this oftentimes, would be more in the budgetary range for most folks. So now let's do a walk around of the ship. So we have here the nose and the canopy. And the canopy has a snap open feature and a little hinge right there. And you can see here there's the detail of the cockpit. All those are the original stickers. You can see the loading ramp there, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And if you peer to the back, you can see where the compartment is where you can store stormtroopers and such. Moving around to the bottom, you can see the landing gear. The center one has a trigger which releases the wings. And you can see there are 2 sets of guns, both on either wing. These happen to also swivel. It's a press fit, 2-piece press fit against the wing. Move back here. And around the rear, we have here the engine compartment with the rear guns, and you can see the landing gear there. And there is the button that activates the motor. You can see a lot of nice detail work there on the vertical stabilizer, as well as the underside of the wings. And we can look here at the inner part of the wings, as well as the top of the fuselage. You can see there's a sticker, just a little vent there. Okay. Now, since Han and Chewie flew this ship, we'll stick them, in Return of the Jedi, we'll stick them inside. And this is my original Chewbacca that I got in 1978. And my original Han Solo, he and Ben were my first 2 figures that I still have in my collection. You can see that Han kind of slides down a bit. The cockpit's quite more spacious than it is in the Millennium Falcon. And then we close the canopy, and it has a little latch right there that snaps into place. Now let's take a look at the landing ramp. And this is the original landing ramp. So it releases here, and it's a 2-part process. You have an inner ramp that slides into the main one. We'll take a droid, say R5-D4 here, and R5 his head just about hits the top of the ship there if you were to load him up, and he's a little bit wide in the legs for the ramp itself. And in fact, if you were to try to slide him up, his head would hit the underside. So obviously this isn't the scale, but it still is a pretty neat feature nonetheless. Now I will tip this up so that way you can see how it folds up into the underside of the cockpit there. And so you'll see that little tab. So you slide that back and then slide it in, and there we go. Now, since we have this up, let's take a look at the landing gear. Now, in the first video, I talked a bit about lubricating right back here under this little snap pin. So the landing gear, the rear landing gear, should fold up like that, and then they snap into place. These were totally locked in place when I got it, which is why I disassembled the ship in the first place. But once you lubricate that area, then it should be just fine. And then this is the button that you press to release the wings, which I will show you in a few moments. Now let's do a turnaround here for the battery compartment. So this is where the motor is. It takes 2 AA batteries. The motor sits right behind here. So if you do need to restore this, you'd have to take out the 6 screws that hold the top part of the fuselage on, and then this piece slides out very easily on 2 pins. So we'll put that back into place, and then we'll do a little demo. Has a very cool motor sound, just like all of the Kenner ships that had batteries. Unfortunately, it doesn't have lights. That would have been a really cool feature if it did. Well, let's do what you've all been waiting for and release the wings. So hopefully I'll be able to get this in view of the camera. We'll lift the ship up, and I'm going to press the button here and then gently let the wings fall into place. And there we are. You'll see, now you can see just the sheer magnitude of this thing. Now, according to the instructions, which, by the way, I do not own, I had to find them online, you're supposed to put the wings up equally, so both left and right. So I just set it there on a flat surface, and then hear the clicking. And one more. There we go. Now, if you want your wings pointed inward while touching the vertical stabilizer, the trigger won't release it, and then you have to snap it past the gear, and that could be a little hard on the gears. So, okay. Well, we're going to look at this inside compartment here, and so I'm going to release the wings. There we are. Okay, so here we have the side panel where you can access the interior, and basically you just pull that back, and it has 2 little tabs that snap into place. This is the inside of the door that has its original stickers. And now let's peer inside the interior. So you can see there's 3 pegs for figures to stand on, some nice stickers on the back wall, some stairs. Those vents are actually hiding screws, so if you need to access the gears in there, you'd have to pull up those stickers. Little computer screen, and then if you look into the that walking area there, you can see inside the canopy, you can see Chewbacca sitting right there. So pretty neat interior that they have designed. Now I put some stormtroopers in there. I have a total of 5 inside there. Of course, you might be able to fit more, cramming them in like sardines, but you can see it becomes a really neat troop carrier. So then in placement of the door, all you have to do is set that in and then press it down, both fore and aft, and then it snaps right into place. Well, thank you again for taking the time to watch the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. Sorry this video is a little bit longer than I expected, but hopefully it's fairly complete. And if you were new to the Imperial Shuttle, now you know what it looks like. Apparently, Hasbro released this twice in the early 2000s, 2002 and 2006, and the ship is identical in structure, different in color, but it does not have the electronics. So if you want the electronic motor, this is the one to get. Happy collecting, and we'll see you at the next video.